Welcome to the Art of Volunteering. I'm your host, Stormy Bell. Today, we're going to spend our time together with Nancy Labov, founder and CEO of Alumni in Recovery. Welcome, Nancy.
Hi, thank you, Stormy.
All right, Nancy has been working as a nurse in psychiatric and addiction services for more than 25 years. She also has experience as an alcohol and drug counselor and serving as an EMT. She has always believed in the power of community resourcing and people working together towards a common goal. As a woman in long-term recovery for over 30 years, she has a passion for recovery and prevention and recognizes that identification and awareness are key factors. In 2014, the Framework for Alumni in Recovery was founded as a result of her life experience. She began bridging schools and the valuable resource of young people in recovery. Wow, quite a history of experience. So we're going to start here. Please share your journey and why Alumni in Recovery is your passion.
Wow. Okay. Thanks for having me. And it was really nice to get a nice little overview of me. I like that. I mean, somebody wrote it within the organization, and it's great. Like it says, I've been in recovery from alcohol and drug use, addiction issues for well over 30 years. I got sober when I was 26. I came from a family that had an alcoholic undertone, to say the least, growing up, and that that has been my upbringing, and I have recovered and recovering from that since. And I really believe in service, and as a nurse, and I was still using substances. I was a party girl, Stormy, pure and simple. It just was. It was back in the 70s. It was just the thing to do. And then into the 80s, and I thought that I was just doing the normal thing, and I was in complete denial. But there was somewhere along the line, and I don't know how terribly ambitious I was in general, except for socializing. And I met my father, actually, I should say, introduced me to the idea of becoming a nurse. And that seemed like a good idea. So because I like helping others, I really like helping others. And so I became a nurse, and during my being a nursing student, I realized how really connected I was to the field of addiction. I went and did a rotation through the rehab, and I just loved it. And I was still active, as they say. I was using substances. I did not even think that I had a problem at that time. And I wanted to be an addiction nurse so bad. And it was suggested to me to be, a medical surgical nurse for at least the first year. So anyway, I did so. And then I ended up getting sober as a result of a DWI, driving while intoxicated in Boston, because that's where I lived at the time. And I thank God for that experience. I didn't try to run away from it. I just took responsibility for my actions on that, and in the process, and I had a family member that was already sober and that I was very close to, and that person was able, when I went to the drunken driving assessment, that before I went into there was like a program, and they basically told me I should abstain, and given my history and given my assessment, and that go to a couple AA meetings a week. And I was horrified. I could not believe this. How am I ever going to stay sober? What about the summer? I just thought it was like such a death sentence at the time. And that person was with me, and that person told me, why don't you just stop? And I was like, forever? Like, do it a day at a time. Just do it a day at a time. And that was the beginning. And I say this because it's really important, because my experience as a nurse and a counselor, and through that time, is all based on the fact that I got sober at that time. And I got sober, had that person not carried the message to me, I don't know how long it would have taken. And I think that that is a huge responsibility we have as recovering people in our world. I think recovering people have not been given enough opportunities to bridge with the general public and be able to share their experience, their strength, their hope to others. I think the Face of Recovery is able to give the whole picture of the disease concept of addiction. I believe it's a disease concept. Having worked in the field so long, there's no doubt in my mind. And I also know that the recovery process is one that all of us can just benefit from. And you were saying briefly about just how you got involved in what you're doing in your podcast, and how we all, to the heart of us, to connect with others, that human thread is the piece that can keep us so alive and so whole. So I really have learned a lot from the recovery world, because they call it a we program, and and working together with others. So how did I come up with this idea? So I was working in the field for a long time, and it was really important that I got a full spectrum of the whole treatment, scope of treatment for people with addictive processes, substance use disorder. At the time it was addiction. They changed the name of that to encompass more of a whole, of different people due to the opioid epidemic. And when I was working in treatment, there was a lot of young people that were coming through. I worked rehab, and I worked at a long-term treatment center for women. And I came across a lot of young people and that were getting sober and clean. And I then had the opportunity of bringing some young people to a school to speak to the students as my position in the long-term treatment center I was at. So I brought these couple of women in, and they were young, and they were relating to the kids and through their stories of where they were at when they were that age. And I saw the power. I just saw it. I saw this magnificent ability to connect. And see, that's the thing about addictive processes. It separates us. We want to detach and run away from our minds. We feel so alone. We feel isolated. We feel like we don't belong. And that's where I was at one time in my life, and that has a lot to do with why I use substances. And I always had wanted to be able to go speak to kids in schools when I got sober at 26. I said, oh, this would be just such a great opportunity to be able to talk to them about where, my experience, because I wish that I had more of that when I was growing up. I, again, grew up in the 70s, but so would I have heard it? I don't know for sure, but nobody was giving me that message. There was none of that. So when I saw this go on between these students and these young people, I said, we got to do more of this. And I thought I was just going to start bringing the women from treatment in, at that time. And then one day, a young woman said, I want to speak at my school. That's my school. I want to speak there. Somebody I knew on the outside. And I was like, okay, And so I went, when I was talking to the counselor at the school, she's like, we would love to have her come back and speak to the students. She went to school here. What a great idea. So I was out for a run. I used to do a lot of running at that time. And it came to me that, wait a minute, I know a couple of people that could come to this school that live in this town. And then I was like, oh my goodness, I could actually start pairing people with their schools. And that would be tremendous, because what I have learned over my time working in treatment is that Bill Wilson, who founded Alumni, didn't found Alumni Recovery, he founded Alcoholics Anonymous, started out bringing his message with Dr. Bob Smith. And this was around the Akron, Ohio area. But they found that by sharing their stories with others, that person could identify and begin to see things differently, and to see that there was a way out. And And so I don't necessarily think these kids in schools, need to have the same message, but they do have, we are able through our guidelines, because I know I had to create guidelines to go into schools, they're able to go in and speak about the pathway of addiction, speak about their lives and root causes of where they were at when they were that age, of what was going on in their lives. And this is such an important factor. It at least allows people to have words to go with their feelings and identify just a bit of what they're feeling. This day and age, we really need this. And so that's how it started. I'm sorry. I hope that's not too long.
Oh, no, that's wonderful. So you work with young people who are in recovery. Like, what are their ages? And then how many volunteers do you have? Like, how many go out and speak?
Well, we have grown. So it started as a trickle of a couple of people, and then little by little, and I think that, that whole field of dreams, if you build it, they will come. Little by little, people got involved, and more people got involved. And then we've had hundreds of people, go through, alumni in recovery and speak in schools. We typically do 60 presentations a year, reaching thousands of students. There's as because you lived in Bergen County, there's 70 towns in Bergen County. So that means there's 60 high schools. Think of all the middle schools. And there's a lot of people to reach. And so, little by little, we're able to do that. And there's a lot of young people in recovery that would like to do this, would like to volunteer their time to speak to kids in schools.
Wow. And you've already spoken to the power that happens between someone just a few years ahead of them, possibly going through what they're experiencing or what they're dabbling in, which could be something more. And maybe being that stark reality, like, oh, do I want that for my life?
Right.
that one-on-one.
They also talk about things like the Good Samaritan law, which is, call 911 if somebody's having a hard time, looks like they're overdosing, and the symptoms to look for. So they understand the importance of that, and that they won't get in trouble by the police if they do that, which is a nationwide law. A few states still don't do it, but and we try to educate them and inform them of certain warnings, and also the deadliness, especially this day and age with fentanyl.
You've been doing this for 25 years, 30 years?
I have been doing alumni in recovery for September will be the 8th year from its time of conception. But I have been in the field, working, my passions for, I don't know, for like over 30 years.
Okay. How do people, is it just word of mouth? How do young people in recovery find you, or do you find them, or how does that all come about?
Well, the world of recovery is, it's pretty networked. It's all over the country, but somebody will know somebody, and it just kind of spreads that way. We try to occasionally we'll put out a flyer looking for new faces. You want to speak in schools, but overall, people it's word of mouth. I just got a text last night from somebody that I hadn't talked to in a long time. She said, "So sorry, I've been busy, I've been working, but I've got Abdul here, and he would be great to speak in schools." I'm like, "Great, give him my number. We'll talk tomorrow." So we do that a lot, and I have about 4 people that kind of just became part of our community over the last 2 weeks. So it kind of, it ebbs and flows.
Okay.
Yeah.
I read on your website that
Mhm.
it's usually choose two young adults and then a bereaved parent.
Oh, yes. Thank you. We have a few different tiers of our program. So
Okay.
the young people in recovery are our first one. And then we were asked to speak to parents for a PTO function, right, one night. And that was back in like 2017. And I was like, okay, great. So I went in with two of our young people, and it was a nice group of people. I mean, we don't normally get that many people, but like, I mean, parents, it's hard to get parents to come. That's a whole
Right.
nother piece. But I said, you know what? This is a peer-to-peer approach thing that we do. And I really think it's time to bring in parents that have lost their kids to addiction related deaths, primarily overdoses. And I knew of a couple. And I said, I'm going to reach out to this woman, Nancy, right? So that's how that started. But here, you'll love this. Okay, can I tell you one of those great
Oh,
little stories that just like, wow,
absolutely.
so it started with Nancy, and that was great. So we had one parent, that could speak to parent programs in the evening, and allow the young people in recovery to speak in the day, empower them to be able to carry that message to kids. And then in the evening, they could join with a parent member, we started calling them, right? That, somebody who had lost their kid to addiction. So they could talk to parents, right? But those two people come together. So one time, there was a school in New Jersey here in Montvale. And, I was like, oh, gee, I really would love, I would love to bring the alumni I have back to that school. Oh, I just don't know how we're going to get in the door. Well, we'll see what happens. Sure enough, I get a little phone call, and it's this guy, Tom Canavan, who now happens to be the director of our parent program. But he calls and he's like, oh, hi, my name's Tom Canavan. And, I went to I'm an alumni of this school, and I was trying to get in there to maybe speak. He said, and then somebody told me that maybe I should reach out to you. And so he became our second parent member. And he happened to be that school and he happened to be the parent that opened the door to get into that school. So it's just breathtaking when you have these local people that actually went to the school. You have one of our young recovery members and a parent who has lost their kid, that was, coming together to speak. I
Right.
mean, the power in that is just blows me away. And that these people just want to give back. All they want to do. I mean, parent members turning their pain into purpose. I mean, it's such courage for them to like share these devastatingly, hard. Well, they get to remember their kid in the light that they are. They don't just share on their complete downfall. They share on the fact that they were thriving young kids that had full lives. They may have had, some of them may have had some ADD or something, they didn't ever choose this path. And they try to point that out to the parents, and that, what to look for, signs to look for, and things like that. So they also have guidelines. And we do this so we can have a unified presence and create a brand that can be utilized anywhere.
That's
Anywhere.
amazing. Now you're strictly Bergen County. Are you all throughout the entire state, the region? Like
Yes.
what are
Yes. Good
what's your
question.
footprint?
Whoa, it's a good question. So we are in Bergen County. Believe it or not, we have a Patterson chapter. Patterson, New Jersey is a city for all those that don't know. I don't know how your audience out there, but
That's okay.
it's a large city that, significantly not the same as Bergen. It's different. It has a different population, and a lot of the people are underserved community. And the good news is we have a whole chapter of people that live in Patterson that have an alumni in recovery presence, and want to bridge the recovery community with schools and community events. their community. So that,
That's
but we
awesome.
also have Passaic County. We have some presence in Sussex and Warren County out west New Jersey. We have some presence in Brick, all the way down in Brick, which is Ocean
Okay.
County, down by the shore. And we have a decent presence in Essex County as well. So and Little Hudson. So, we're getting there, and we have people in those areas, because I totally believe that, yes, you want relatable people that know the area, and live within the area.
Reaching, everyone's reaching their own people per se. Like
Right.
they're able to relate. They know the school, they know the areas, they know what's going on. They have a
Yes,
pulse of the community. Yeah.
totally. It's one of the identifying factors, and I think it's really important. We don't go in and say, "Hi, I'm Nancy. I'm an alcoholic." That's kind of a very AA type of way of talking.
Right.
Our members will go in and be like, "Hi, I'm Morgan. I'm 25. I'm from River Edge, New Jersey." And that's where I went to school. And that's how people qualify, because it's not an AA meeting, it's not an NA meeting, it's not either of those wonderful self-help healing 12-step recovery organizations. There's many out, but we're not trying to take from that, or try to go against their traditions or anything. This is a different model, and it had to be created. As a nurse, I really, really feel that this is a community issue. This is, the only way we're going to reach the community is through connection with each other. And we are living in a time where we're so severely isolated in our own little bunkers, as Brene Brown would say. I love Brene Brown. And she says, we live in a society where, we go into our holes and we're on our computers, we're doing Facebook, texting, we're just not relating so much. And we really need to give words and language to this, to everybody in our communities. And we really, we kind of also are like the event planners of addiction. That's the third tier of us. We basically create and produce events for towns, county level, city, whatever. But, and we do that a lot with Dee Gillen of the Black Poster Project, who is our sister partner, because she is one of our members as a parent, but she has created her own 501c3 of these marvelous hundreds of posters. And I know you've had her as a guest before.
She has been a guest. Yes. She's wonderful. Powerful story.
She really is. I don't know if she sent you pictures. I hope she did.
She did. I have. Yep.
Yeah.
It's wonderful. Actually, on your website, you have one of your, I don't know if it's your board picture. It's standing in front of some of those pictures.
Yes. Oh, yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's our community. Back before the pandemic, we were really doing these community events were flowing. We were doing them like the same place, same time, every quarter, and just so people could kind of get into the flow of seeing that this is a community action issue. We need everybody, we're going to get food brought in, from somebody's going to donate food, and we're going to have resources tables, and we're going to have speakers, because it begins with the language of the heart. If we're not connecting through our stories, we won't find that common bond. We won't change our perceptions. And we so can, and we can recover our world by working together. There is no doubt in my mind.
Awesome. Now, you've already shared a couple stories just in our conversation. Do you have another story of impact that you'd like to share?
I would love to share this one. This one was one of the most heartwarming things that had happened. So I brought back an alumni to a town and to speak at the school to the students. And while he was there, and he spoke all day, he wanted to so much to be able to speak. His name's Raheem. So Raheem was speaking, and he was talking. Part of his story was that he never got his diploma because he never turned in his library books, right? So I mean, it's just part of that alcoholic behavior. You let go of like some important things because you just can't care. And partly, probably, it's part being a youth, I guess. But anyways, he never returned his library books, so or textbooks or whatever. So he never got his diploma. So that was his story. And at the end of his share, the principal started sharing, and he gave him a diploma.
Oh, did he really?
Yes,
Oh,
in front of
wow.
all the students. And that still just gives me chills. Oh, because that
Wow.
just the healing. It's about healing. I mean, when people come together, that you just don't know how far that healing level will take you, because it might be good for the members going in to share, and because it just gives us so much back. You can't keep it unless you give it away. It's a big
Right.
quote, 12-step recovery. But the fact that the school, the staff, some of the staff knew these people, pre-recovery, and it
Right.
just it helps on so many levels to be able for people to have these healing connections and engagements with each other.
Oh, amazing.
Oh,
Uh,
I love that
yeah,
diploma story.
you're
That
warming my heart just as you speak. I'm just like, wow. Wow.
It's so important. I really
Oh,
believe this is the one thing we can come together on, Stormy. The fact that, addiction doesn't discriminate. Anybody, it can happen to anybody, and it's the one disease that's preventable.
yes.
So it's something, if we're talking about it, we put light on it, because it would like to fester in the dark and not be talked about, and in recovery, we talk about it all the time. So at least if we could bring it to the forefront and talk about it now and again with
Right.
people, we can connect so much better.
You're changing perceptions.
I
Yeah.
hope so. I mean, it does. It's just, my goodness, I can be real grand. I have grand ideas. I wrote Oprah the other day. I just want to let you know. I
Good for
wrote
you.
Oprah. Yeah. And I was like, Oprah, I got a solution here. Okay. Pay attention, please, Oprah. I read your book. What happened to you? Great book, by the way. Oh, all about
Okay.
healing trauma. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Very
Thanks.
good.
Yeah.
All
Grand
right.
idea.
This is a question I think is fun. I don't know if
Mhm.
my guests think it is.
Okay.
Can you share a blooper?
Oh,
Something that didn't go right. And then tell me what you learned from it.
oh my gosh. I bloop every day, for crying out loud. Oh,
Okay,
what did I
one that
what
stands out more than
all right,
others.
all right. I was gonna say, what did I learn today? All right, what stands out more than others? I'll tell you what really is important: to learn how to let go and let other people take the reins now and again. It's as because this is something I created. I think I'm the only one that can do it just right,
Yeah.
and there's many people. There is no I in team, and I always profess that. But it's if you're creating something and you're really passionate about it, it's a wonderful thing, but you have to be careful that you're not burning yourself out, and that you're allowing yourself to have some self-care and self-time, however that looks outside the organization. I am not the organization, you know, the organization is not me. Big
Okay.
lesson. That's a big one. I mean, and that, and just don't take yourself so seriously all the time, that for me.
That's awesome. I love it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right. We're almost at the end of our time. I have one more opportunity for you to love on Alumni in Recovery. Just
Hmm.
why should people get involved? Why should people come and hear your stories? Just love on your what you
Oh
do.
my gosh. Our community events, everything, it's just such an ability for people to be able to just find a way to relate to each other. We're back to connections. It's all about the healing and the connections. And I think that if anybody lives in the New Jersey area, I have something I love. We're in the New York state line, where at Tallman State Park, okay, which is on the New York state line on the Hudson River. All right. There's a pool club there called Tallman Pool Club, and we're having Recovery Day. And Recovery Day is an event that was created by the manager there, who's also in recovery. And that was one of those little things that just happened, like, whoa, how'd that happen? But
Yeah.
he, is in business pretty much with like my husband on some levels, but it's Recovery Day. There's going to be bands, it's going to be music, food, the ability to hear good speakers, resources come together, paint rocks, which is something that we do. Have a little healing modalities in the back. You could swim. I mean, there's just so many opportunities. And that's September 18th, in the middle of Recovery Month. And I'm gonna love on Alumni in Recovery by mentioning
go right
that.
ahead.
Go to our website. No. Better yet, go to Facebook and go to alumniinrecovery.org and Alumni in Recovery and find out more information about it.
Awesome. We will have that in our show notes, so people can be able to find that and more information.
Anybody can get involved. Anybody.
Absolutely. I'm encouraging them to. Awesome.
Thank you,
well,
Stormy.
Nancy, thank you for being my guest today. This has been so enlightening, so encouraging. And I hope that our listeners find something that they can truly embrace.
Well, thank you.
I do want to thank you.
Okay, it's been a great time. I maybe one day we'll run into each other on the highway.
That'd be awesome. Absolutely. So I want to thank my listeners. Thank you for joining us today. I hope you got as much out of it as I did. And I look forward to seeing you on our next episode of The Art of Volunteering. Have a great day.